Hello again, friends and fellow truth seekers. Mike Nicholas here with another episode of the Soul Unleashed podcast, where it's my goal to help you with questions you might have regarding the awakening of your soul, and particularly to help other left brain types like I am ask the right questions in our search for deeper meaning to life. And ultimately, I want to help you unleash your soul from limiting beliefs and smothering paradigms. So this is Tuesday, a little bit shorter podcast today and a little more personal. I really would just want to talk about the trip I was just on with the American Legion riders. So I've been gone for a couple weeks, and we do this charity ride every year. It's designed to raise money for the children of soldiers who have been killed or 50% disabled since 9/11 for college scholarships. And our initial goal back in 2006 when this started was to raise an endowment of about $20 million. And of course, from that amount of money, then the scholarships could be awarded. And I'm happy to say that we've achieved that goal. This is the last year that we'll be riding for that specific charity. Every year we've raised, 1 million, 1.2, 1.3. I think this year we'll probably hit 1.45. Our goal is 1.5 million. And what it comes from is just individual little donations that each post makes. So our post, for example, we brought a check with us, the two of us from our little post in Fairfax, Virginia. We brought a check for $6,000. And that was raised throughout the year by things like raffles and little fundraising things we might do around the post, booze raffles and gun raffles or whatever. And we raised that money and we put it together, and then our post donated a little bit of money too, $1,000, and we took that check with us, and we're one of hundreds of American Legion posts that participated in this, and we gave our check during the ride. We had about 300 and, I don't know, the number varied every day, but maybe 320, 325 motorcycles. We all formed up in Kokomo, Indiana, and then we rode to Charlotte, North Carolina. We detoured up to Detroit for a ceremony up in Detroit because the American Legion's riders were founded, I forget how many, 30 years ago, I think, in Detroit. And so we had a little ceremony at that post for the 30-year anniversary. And that was fun. But the main thing is that all these riders, motorcycle riders, come from all over the country, all different posts. They all bring their money with them. And there's some big checks. The state of Virginia, we do our own in-state legacy ride. I was part of that back in June. And it was organized by a writer named Randy Gunn, who did an amazing job putting it together. Anyway, we raised as part of that effort $121,000. And so that check was presented by all the Virginians as part of this presentation when we finally got to Charlotte. So that was it. By the time the ride ended, we'd raised about $670,000, and then the money continues to come in during the convention. Every year, as part of this ride, and I've done this now for, it's been about 16 years, but every year we ride to wherever the national convention is. This year it was Charlotte. Last year it was Milwaukee. 2021 it was Phoenix. We didn't do it in 2020, although we had a ride to Indianapolis to still give a check. So different cities. We've been to Reno, Milwaukee a bunch of times for some reason. But that's how we do it. I didn't ride last year because that's when my wife fell about a week before the ride took off. And, I didn't want to go on the ride, and some people took over. My assistant road captain, Bruce, and our tail gunner, Rob, ran the whole thing, and it all went very well, and I was happy about that. So how does all this come back to spirituality and the soul awakening process? And for me, it's about the feeling that I get when I started getting close to this time to ride. It's almost like a big family reunion. There's people that you haven't seen all year and you've been riding with for many years. And it is just an amazing group of people that all get together for this one purpose. It's hard to describe the amount of work that goes into this. And I don't do this work, but I know what it is. I've did some of this work for the ride we did in June in Virginia, where we had about 220 bikes. But I know the work that goes into this, and the organizers at the American Legion National do an amazing job of setting up the fuel stops. If you can imagine trying to put 325 bikes through a gas station, and you need to get that done in an hour, it is a beautiful picture of synchronicity that makes all that work. And people know what they're doing. They have specific jobs. We line up specific ways. We're a military group, right? So we're organized by flights, we call them, or groups. My group is Group E, and we have, I think, A through L this year in terms of groups. And each group had about 26 bikes in it. So, and then there's trail vehicles, and there's an advanced team. The advanced team does an amazing job, maybe 10 or 15 of those folks. There's road guards, 5 or 6 of those guys that do things that I don't want to have to do. And it's just all works together because everybody knows what they're doing. So in terms of my soul being improved by this exercise, I look forward to this every year. My wife, God bless her, this used to be my summer vacation because I would have to take a week or 2 weeks to go do this, especially when we were riding out to Phoenix or to Reno. And she always understood that and was very, very understanding and let me, use my summer vacation time to do this ride. Now, of course, she's been in the hospital for about a year and I'm retired, so it's not that big of a deal, but I still look forward to it and get excited about it and love the people that I ride with and that we join up with. And it was a safe ride. Everybody did great, but it is a spiritual experience. I've talked about this in a previous podcast. It is a spiritual experience in a lot of regards to ride a motorcycle. Just to be out in the elements and to feel the wind on your face and to see the sunset and feel the sun. It is just an amazing experience. A couple times this ride, just driving across bridges across the Ohio River, for example, it's just an amazing experience to do that with a bunch of motorcycles. For the second time, only the second time in those 16 years, there was no rain this year. And that was pretty amazing. We had about 2 hours of heavy rain driving out there because we had a link up in Kokomo, Indiana. So we had about 2 hours of challenging rain, but that was it. I'll take that any year versus some of the times when we've had rain constantly for days. We don't stop for rain. We don't stop for storms. There's never been a serious storm like a tornado or a heavy lightning storm that we've had to ride through, but we've driven through very heavy rain, and we just keep going. We have a scheduled meet. We've got to be at certain American Legion posts by a specific time. We have to hit the gas stations at a specific time, and it's all orchestrated and set up. And so that's very important that we stick to the timeline. So that's what I've been off doing for the past 10 days or so. I still put out my interviews, my podcast interviews, because I had interviewed some people in advance, and Kaylee Kinkella, Brian Ellis, those interviews are posted. They are both audio as part of wherever you're listening to this now, but they're also on YouTube. So if you look for my YouTube channel, Mike Nicholas Unleashed, it's on there and the videos are on there. And I have some amazing people coming up too for future podcast interviews that all deal with spiritual topics. Some of it, off the deep end, if you're where I was a few years ago and all this still strikes you as craziness. But for me, it continues to be a learning experience. I continue to grow spiritually. I continue to become more and more convinced that there is not only something beyond this life, but something wonderful beyond this life. And even more than that, it continues to impact and influence our current lives. And that, I think, is the beauty and the amazement of the whole thing. So thank you again. I appreciate you listening. Again, this is just a short one this week for Tuesday. But I'll have another interview posted on Thursday, and I think you'll enjoy that with a very interesting lady. And I look forward to speaking to you again a little more personally next Tuesday. Bye-bye.